Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
The pink folder was clutched tight in both hands, edges worn soft from being carried, opened, reclosed a dozen times. Lucy Whitaker, 6 years old, freckles, lopsided braid, stepped into the Monroe Pay lobby like she owned it. She didn't hesitate. Ms. Alvarez, her neighbor, followed right behind, coat over one arm, scanning for security. Reception was sleek. Tall glass, quiet buzz, floor-to-ceiling screens showing muted product loops. Lucy marched right up to the front desk, like she'd practiced it in her head. Kendall Porter looked up from her monitor, eyebrows raised. "Well, hey there. What can I do for you two?" Lucy barely waited. "My daddy fixes things with this," she said, holding up the pink folder. "I need to show someone." Kendall blinked, then leaned forward, kneeling to Lucy's level. "You got a name, sweetheart?" "Lucy Whitaker. My daddy's Cole. He works at night." Kendall glanced at Ms. Alvarez, who nodded. "Her dad's trying to apply here. She wanted to help." "Well," Kendall smiled, opening the visitor log. "Let's get you two a badge. Hold real still. I'm taking your picture." A few clicks later, she hit a button and picked up the phone. "Hey, Jenna. I've got a visitor. Kiddo with a pink folder. Says it's for Cole Whitaker. Thought you might want to take a look." By the time Jenna Dalton, assistant to the CEO, stepped out of the elevator, Lucy had already opened her folder on the front counter. Inside was a dashboard she made herself. Colored construction paper tabs, tiny checklists, stickers labeled KPIs, and rows of boxes marked "to fix" and "fixed." Jenna crouched beside her, fascinated. "You made this yourself?" Lucy nodded, flipping a tab. "This is what my dad does at night. He makes checklists like this. He fixes messes." Behind them, a pair of heels clicked fast across the lobby floor. Blair Monroe, CEO of Monroe Pay, paused mid-stride. "What's this?" she asked. Kendall spoke first. "She's Cole Whitaker's daughter. Came in with Ms. Alvarez. Said she wanted to help her dad." Blair studied the pink folder, then Lucy. Something flickered behind her expression. Sharp interest, no smile. She turned to Jenna. "Give me 15 minutes. Blair didn't wait for an answer, just gestured toward the nearest glass-walled conference room. Lucy followed, folder in hand, Ms. Alvarez still trailing, eyes wide. That was how the door opened. Quick note. Before we continue, share in the comments which city or country you're listening from. It helps us see where you're tuning in from and figure out the best time to post new stories. Thanks. Now let's get into it. I was 31 then, 19 hours into a shift that started with inventory errors at the warehouse and ended with a busted courier van in Gresham. I hadn't eaten since yesterday. My phone battery was hanging on at 2%, and I was standing in HR trying not to lose it. I asked politely if I could swap rotations, move off the graveyard shift. My daughter was starting first grade. Mornings mattered. They didn't even look up from the screen. "Policy is policy," the guy said, like I was asking for charity. It hit the same hard way every time. Not anger, not really. Just that quiet shutdown, like I was being sorted into a too-bad bin. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have known, was that Lucy had already made her move. She'd watched me for weeks at the kitchen table, highlighting old invoices, printing trackers, drawing arrows in blue pen when numbers didn't line up. She thought if she just showed them the lists, someone would listen. A couple hours later, my phone buzzed. "Mr. Whitaker," said a calm voice. "This is Jenna Dalton from Monroe Pay. Would you be able to stop by the office this afternoon?" I thought it was spam, or a mistake. She used phrases like short conversation, clear KPIs, and another department lead will handle you, and none of it made sense. Then Marcus Ellery called, head of ops. No small talk. Just offered a 24-hour test task with tight acceptance rules and said, "Show me what you do. Clock starts now." That was the first crack in the wall. My kid, a pink folder, and a CEO who didn't blink. Marcus led me to a glass-walled room on the 6th floor that smelled like dry erase markers and overused coffee machines. He dropped a folder on the table, opened it like a blueprint, and didn't waste a second. Refund aging clarity by 10 a.m. tomorrow. Keep it simple, verifiable. No heroics we can't audit. He said clarity, like it was currency, and from the way his eyes locked on mine, I knew I was on a stopwatch already. I nodded. So, no net new workflows? Just make the existing mess readable? Exactly, he said. Readable, traceable, and clean. You report to me, not Blair. No fast lanes, no whisper credits, just receipts. Jenna stepped in behind him and slid a visitor badge across the table, plus a stapled printout. You'll find timestamps, data sources, and channel threads in that. We use Slack for handoff and Jira for tracking. Anything not documented didn't happen. I flipped the top page. It was tight. Every minute accounted for, every field source called out by link. They weren't setting me up to win or fail. They were setting the field level. Then Dylan Kerr strolled in with his blazer sleeves bunched up like he thought that made him look busy. Ah, the comeback story, he said with a grin. You'll kill in post-production. Let me toss you a little bonus content. He clicked something on the conference screen. 20-ish refund backlog tickets dumped onto the shared board, all untagged. In case you want to impress the grown-ups, he added. Marcus didn't flinch. I didn't take the bait. I just said, cool, and closed the folder. Lucy was already at Ms. Alvarez's by the time I got back to the apartment. She'd packed her stuffed otter in one of my old hoodies. I didn't linger. Just kissed the top of her head and said I had to go fix something grown up. I walked home slow, stopped for a gallon of gas station coffee, the kind that's been burning since sunrise and tastes like cardboard with ambition. I took my boots off at the door, sat down at the kitchen table, and opened a blank sheet like it owed me rent. I'm not a developer. Never claimed to be. But I've lived in spreadsheets longer than I've lived in any one zip code. I rigged a lean Google Apps script to pull daily deltas from their refund ledger, grouped the aging buckets by status and timestamp using query, then pivoted the whole damn thing with plain English labels, ready to review, waiting on merchant, needs finance check. I didn't make it pretty. I made it readable. Then I built a one-pager with screenshots, formulas, change logs, and a clear file path. Every update had my initials and a timestamp. Nothing fuzzy, nothing cute. By 5:40 a.m., I was whisper yelling at the Wi-Fi router for dropping the connection again. When it held steady, I dropped the link in the Slack channel Marcus gave me, tagged him, Dylan, and someone from accounting, and wrote, "Ready for QC eyes. Everything's labeled, source-linked, and filterable." Lucy padded into the kitchen around 6:15, rubbing her eyes. "Why are you whispering?" she asked. I pulled her onto my lap and showed her the screen. "It's a list that helps money go where it's supposed to." She giggled when she saw the green check marks I'd used as progress markers. "That's the happy box." "Yup," I said. "That's where the grown-ups want everything to land." At 9:58 sharp, Marcus opened the dock. I could see the cursor moving, testing filters, stress testing tabs. At one point, he deliberately broke a formula. Then he restored the range from version history and left a comment. "It holds." 2 minutes later, he dropped 3 KPIs into the Slack thread, like final terms on a contract. Cycle time down 22%. QA misses under 1.5. Daily handoff notes, 100% coverage. 30-day trial starts now. Can you confirm? I replied, confirmed. All notes logged in Slack thread, refund ops night. He dropped a thumbs-up reaction. Jenna added the terms to my guest access and confirmed my trial user permissions. I didn't throw a fist pump. I didn't even sit back. I just hit Control-S one more time, closed the laptop, and poured the last cold inch of gas station coffee down the sink. No applause, no confetti, just a clock and a bar to clear. I didn't try to change the world that first week, just fixed what I could see. The intake form was a mess. Half drop-downs, half free text fields, which meant no one could filter the damn thing without squinting at every line. I tightened that up first. Then I color-coded the ticket queue by touch date and owner. Red meant untouched in 72 hours. Yellow meant waiting on finance. Green meant in motion. Real basic stuff. Visual honesty. Some folks actually followed the scheme. A couple even commented on it. Others rolled their eyes or ignored it completely. Dylan, of course, decided to make a point. Friday, 4:59 p.m. sharp, he dropped 19 more tickets into the shared board. No notes, no tags. Just dumped them like someone tossing laundry down a chute. "Didn't want you to run out of things to organize," he said, standing behind me with that same smirk like he was doing stand-up at a bar. I didn't bother answering. He wasn't talking to me. He was playing to the room. That night, after dropping Lucy off with Ms. Alvarez for her movie night, I came back home, pulled the second folding chair to the kitchen table, and built a tiny sorter in sheets. Nothing flashy. Labels, timestamps, assigned owners, and how long each ticket had been untouched. I added one rule. If something sat idle longer than 72 hours, it auto-flagged to needs review and pushed into the red column. It wasn't magic. It was just friction removed. By Monday morning, half of the oldest tickets had been closed out cleanly, and the other half were escalated with real notes. Merchant not responding, needs legal review, hold pending verification. The usual blame and bounce routines didn't have air to breathe. I didn't call attention to it, just showed up for the ops stand-up and waited like everyone else. Blair joined that day. First time I'd seen her in person since the pink folder moment. She stood in the back, arms folded, scanned the board during Marcus's update. She didn't mention me. Not directly. She said, "Cycle time's finally moving. Thank you, Marcus." Her eyes flicked over me for maybe half a second, then kept moving. That was the point. By the end of the week, the team was split. Some respected the clarity. Some acted like I was writing checklists for show. Jenna called it clerical theater once when she was joking, but I'd already heard Dylan say it without the smile. Friday afternoon rolled in quiet. A few folks were starting to pack up. Then Kendall pinged me on Slack. "Little visitor incoming." Lucy showed up in her puffy blue coat with hot cocoa in both hands and a new dashboard she'd made during her after-school art hour. This one had tiny Velcro tabs labeled "Stuck," "Fixing," and "Fixed." Kendall helped her fill out a kid's visitor card with a smiley face next to her name. Jenna walked her to the break room, where someone had brought donuts, and Lucy lit up like she'd walked into a carnival. Marcus came over and crouched beside her. "This yours?" he asked, pointing to the dashboard. Lucy nodded, eyes big. "It helps keep track of what needs help." He smiled, rare sight, and carried the thing into the retro, held it up like a prop. "Before we start," he said, "I'd like to introduce a new framework. Stuck, fixing, fixed. Try to keep up." People actually laughed. The tension in the room dropped like someone cracked a window. Nobody died from seeing a kid for 10 minutes. After the retro, I packed up without saying much. Sweetness doesn't fix metrics. The work does. As we walked out, Marcus pulled me aside near the elevators. "Listen, keep the receipts. Every fix, every chat, every update. Logs, timestamps, names. That's how you cut through the noise." I nodded. Already doing it. That night, just past 11, I caught a weird thread in one of the side client channels. A mid-tier merchant was seeing repeated address mismatches on refunded transactions. Looked small on paper but could blow into something ugly if left untouched. I didn't wait. Dug through the logs and spotted the pattern. Someone had mapped a secondary field in the validation script but forgot to normalize spacing on zip codes. Same address, different format, flagged as inconsistent. I wrote a 2-line note in the thread. Root cause, zip field mismatch on partial refunds. Autofix proposed, trim white space, unify format. Linked the specific cases, dropped a time-stamped screenshot, and tagged the dev lead. Didn't ask for credit, just moved the friction. Morning came with fewer pings than usual. Accounting replied with one line I hadn't expected. "Thanks for the catch. Cleaned on our end." Wasn't a trophy. Wasn't even a compliment. But I screenshotted it anyway. Small win. Noted. It was 1:16 a.m. when the refunds engine started choking. I saw it first in the hourly tracker, spike in pending totals, time to clear stretching past threshold on dozens, then hundreds of transactions. The merchant name jumped out. Maple Cart. Big enough to care, loud enough to escalate fast. By 1:21, their first email hit the support inbox. Refund stuck, aging past promise window. Need ETA. No subject line fluff, just pressure. I opened Slack and built a fresh war room channel on the fly. Ops Hot Patch Refunds Maple Cart. Tagged the on-call list by name. No aliases, no I-team. Pulled in DevOps, Finance QA, and the junior support lead. Then I posted a visible countdown timer. Update pulse, every 20 minutes. Let's stay honest. I didn't touch the system. I wasn't authorized, and I knew better. My job was coordination. Map the flow, keep records, and suggest only what we'd already tested last week. That sandbox wasn't decorative. It was our one dry run buffer. The pattern showed itself around 1:40. The retries were stalling out on a mid-tier verification node. Logs confirmed delay spikes, not fails, meaning a bottleneck, not a full crash. That node was safe to bypass for outliers with low-risk tags. I wrote a proposal in 5 sentences, plain English, no technical jargon. DevOps signed off. Compliance wasn't awake yet, but the fallback was reversible. We put the reroute in motion at 2:04, documented the change with usernames, links, and rollback conditions. At 2:36, we added a retry rhythm, batch interval tweaks to keep pressure down while flow resumed. Everything went in the log, no steps skipped, no guesswork undocumented. By 4:03, I could finally breathe. Queue velocity ticked upward, error rate dropped, and the backlog was slowly untangling. At 5:12, the pending stack dropped below threshold, stabilized. I pushed a 5-line summary to the team. Refund delay on Maple Cart traced to node 4B. Temporary bypass executed. Retry interval optimized. Backlog under control. Screenshots and event log attached. No extra sauce, just facts. I didn't sleep, just sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee and stared at the screen until daylight pressed through the blinds. At 9 a.m. sharp, Marcus added me to a call with Blair and Renee Park from compliance. I joined from the hallway outside the break room, earbuds in, laptop propped on my knee. My hand wouldn't stop twitching. Blair was already mid-sentence when I got in. Need the trail, nothing oral. If it's not logged, it doesn't exist. Renee cut straight in. Mr. Whitaker, who approved the reroute? DevOps lead. User handle Benny.Wong. Time stamped at 2:04. She didn't blink. Where's the rollback plan noted? Slack thread, 5 messages above the deploy trigger. I posted it before tagging engineering. I sent the direct link in chat and shut up. No extra explanation. Just enough. They read in silence. Blair finally said, "Good coordination, Marcus. Keep building this muscle." She didn't look at me. Didn't say my name. Didn't have to. The call ended 2 minutes later. I sat in that hallway for 10 more, letting my heart catch up with the clock. I hate public speaking. I'd rather get audited than lead a call. It's not fear, it's heat. Like my skin's too tight. I don't need spotlight. I need the facts to do the talking. So I wrote the retro like a flight record. 3 proposed fixes. Automated heartbeat on refund nodes. Flag if a retry loop exceeds 5 minutes. And a button push summary export for fast postmortems. No chest thumping. Just cleanup. By 8:30 that night, Lucy had paper, scissors, and tape all over the kitchen floor. She asked what I did at work. I told her there was a big hiccup in the system, and we helped it breathe again. She nodded like that made perfect sense. An hour later, I walked into the kitchen and found a cardboard sign taped to the fridge. It said "All Clear" in crayon, with a smiley face in the corner and a tiny checkbox underneath. That one box was marked "Fixed." I didn't tear up. But I stared at that sign longer than I stared at the dashboards all night. It warmed me up more than any email ever did. Renee didn't ease into the audit. She dropped the hammer in the first 5 minutes. "Why did we hire Whitaker?" she asked, looking directly at Marcus. "Show outputs, deltas, and where policy was tested." No emotion, just a scalpel. Marcus clicked through the first slide. He didn't add flourishes, just numbers and timelines. Refund cycle time was down 24% in 3 weeks. QA misses sat at 1.2. Handoff notes logged with 100% daily coverage across the graveyard shift. Every metric had a start date, a goal line, and a source. He pointed at the raw data links like he was reading a recipe. All time-stamped, all public to team channels, nothing private. My hands were steady, but my chest was tight. I shared my own screen and walked through the artifact folder. File histories from the dashboard builds, change logs from Google Sheets with my initials and timestamps, screenshots of bug fixes, Slack threads, plus 2 emails from client contacts thanking us for faster processing and clean communication. Both dated, both specific. Renee watched without blinking. She didn't nod. She didn't type. She just absorbed. Then Dylan piped in. "I mean, sure, it looks good on paper," he said, sitting forward like he was easing into a sales pitch. "But most of it's short-term sugar. The core pipeline's untouched. We haven't actually changed how ops scales under load." Renee turned her head slowly toward him. "Can you show counter metrics?" He froze for half a beat. Well, I mean, the volume's been inconsistent lately, so—" "No metrics?" she asked again, cutting him off. Dylan leaned back. "Not compiled. Yet." Renee clicked her pen, noted something on paper, and moved on without acknowledging him again. She didn't need to say anything. It landed. By that afternoon, compliance filed an internal request in the policy repo. Just a 1-line entry. Clarify expectations for children in the workplace. No names, no claims, no complaint. Just a gentle push to draw a line. The meetings that followed were fast and clean. Blair called in Renee, Kendall from reception, Jenna from her own desk, and the facilities lead. I wasn't invited, which I appreciated. Didn't want to be the guy in the room when they drew a boundary around my kid. By 5 that evening, the new policy hit Slack and Char's company notices. Office child policy, effective immediately. No roaming visitors under 18. Pre-registered kids hour every Friday, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Children must wear blue-striped visitor badges. Escort required at all times. Sign-in log mandatory at reception. Just policy, not a debate. The first Friday it took effect. Kendall printed 2 new lanyards with blue-striped sleeves, lightweight plastic, hole-punched, with Lucy's name written in bold marker, and a smiley in the corner. Lucy held that badge like a trophy. She wore it around her neck, swinging it back and forth as she walked through the office like she was running a tour. Jenna brought out cocoa packets and paper cups. Marcus set up shop near the break room with the open retro board, and Lucy quietly pulled out her crayons and drew little boxes labeled slow, stuck, and fast again. I didn't say much. I logged tickets, kept my head down, let the room breathe. Later, as the rest of the office wrapped up and most people left early for the weekend, Lucy handed Marcus another homemade dashboard. This one had Velcro dots so he could physically move a task from one column to the next. He laughed, actually laughed, and stuck one to the top of the whiteboard. "Guess I've been promoted," he said. Nobody groaned. Nobody rolled their eyes. A couple people even smiled. It didn't fix every whisper. But the gossip couldn't stretch its legs anymore. The policy gave everyone an answer before anyone had to ask. That next Monday, Renee closed out her audit in Slack with a 1-line summary. Retain, monitor quarterly, maintain artifacts. That wasn't a compliment. That was permission. Keep doing the work. Keep proving it. No backsliding. I exhaled deeper than I had in months. I hadn't even realized I was clenching half the time. Teeth, jaw, shoulders. That night, for once, I didn't check my phone 5 times after logging off. Didn't scroll through dashboards. Didn't hover over Slack threads. Lucy was already asleep on the couch when I got home. The blue striped badge was hanging from the lamp like a nightlight. Her drawing was still on the table. Boxes, arrows, and a little stick figure with glasses. I stared at it for a second, then flipped over my laptop and added one more folder to the ops drive. Audit Trail LW01, Dashboard Artifacts, Kid Policy Effect. Because if there's one thing Marcus drilled into me, it's that skeptics don't argue with timestamps, and I plan to stack them high. I caught the error just as I was about to shut the laptop. One last skim through the dashboard before bed, and my eyes snagged on the totals. Refund volume way too high for a Wednesday night. Clicked the tab, saw the label mismatch. My stomach locked up. I'd marked a batch of partial refunds as full. Didn't feel huge until I saw the metric it fed. Payouts processed per client, week-over-week trend. And one of those clients was Maplecart. 6:40 a.m., their CFO pinged the exec alias, asking why the numbers didn't match their ledger. I already knew it was mine. Didn't wait for a storm to start. I documented the mismatch in the change log with a red flag and timestamp. Then I rolled back the label field using sheet history, manually rebuilt the affected delta columns, and highlighted the affected date range in yellow. I wrote a 2-line summary at the top. Incorrect label, refund type marked full instead of partial. Impact, inflated totals on trend graph, corrected. Then I sent Marcus a DM. Heads up, I mislabeled a block of refund data. Reversed, logged, fix in progress. Can walk you through if needed. He replied in less than 2 minutes. Meet at 9. Bring rollback steps and a fix proposal. At 9:30, Blair joined the call. No fanfare. Just camera on, hair pulled back, black hoodie like she'd barely gotten out of her own fire drill. Walk me through it, she said. I pulled up the doc, highlighted the rows, showed the drop-down field I'd misused, and how it cascaded through the totals because of how the pivot grouped refund types. She didn't interrupt. When I got to the fix log, I paused. The math's right now. The labeling check wasn't tight enough. She didn't nod, didn't blink. Just said, owning it matters. Build the prevention plan and ship it by tomorrow. No lecture, no saving face, just get it fixed. So I did. I added a new sanity check tab, ran key metrics side by side with previous week deltas, and flashed red if the swing went above 20%. Then I added a forced note field. No update would push live unless I typed a reason into the change description cell. Plain English only. The script flagged it otherwise. Last, I added color-coded warnings at the top of the sheet that auto-triggered if refund type skewed too far one way. Not elegant, but effective. I tagged Marcus in the updated sheet. Then I went to bed for the first time in 2 days. The next morning, Blair showed up at stand-up. She held a printed version of my fix log and waved it once before folding it in half. This is the blueprint for future oops. No drama, just a fix. Let's make that the standard. Then she moved on. No pat on the back, no burn either. Just signal sent. Here's what owning it looks like. Later that day, she pulled me aside in the hall by the stairwell. Her voice dropped. Years ago, she said, I missed the signs on a guy pulling doubles. Smart, quiet, didn't raise his hand when something slipped. We lost a client. He lost the job. Never again. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. I know the rules feel strict, she added. That's why. I get rules, I said. Rules keep me honest. That was the end of it. She walked out without waiting for a reply. Back home, different fire. I opened the mailbox to find a rent increase notice. $140, effective the following month. I did the math twice in my head, then out loud just to be sure. Lucy heard me talking numbers to myself and asked if we were moving again. I told her no. Not yet. Then got back on Slack to push the final patch note to Marcus. He must have overheard the rent talk. Later that evening, he stopped by my desk and slid a small post-it toward me. On it was the name of a housing assistance program tied to Monroe Pays community grants. I shook my head. That's for families in worse shape than me. He didn't move. It's not pity. It's a tool. You don't let a wrench sit in the box if you've got a bolt loose. I stared at the paper. You're sure? Use the tool, he said. That's what it's there for. I applied that night. Took me 20 minutes. I felt stupid the entire time, like I was failing some invisible test. But the confirmation email came back approved. The bump wouldn't hit as hard now. Next morning, Lucy had no idea what went down. She didn't ask about metrics or housing grants or fixed logs. She just climbed up onto the kitchen counter and asked if Friday cocoa was still happening. I told her it was. She grinned, leaned against my shoulder, and said, "Good. I already packed extra marshmallows." It happened during Tuesday's manager huddle, mid-slide, mid-sentence. Dylan pulled up a screenshot of the refund aging view, the exact one I'd built after the Maple Card incident, right down to the pivot grouping and my phrasing in the chart caption. I watched him walk through it like he was the one who made it, said it helped bring visibility and clear bottlenecks on the night cycle. I knew that screenshot. I had pasted it into my own 5:12 a.m. summary after we closed the incident. Dylan's version had no tags, no references, just his voice claiming we'd stood up a new framework last month, as if we were all on the same deck when it got built. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Renee was already typing. By Thursday morning, she'd pulled audit extracts from IT, not a whisper of politics, just facts. Who edited what, when, and how many times. The transcript showed my message at 5:12 a.m., file links included. Dylan's message came nearly an hour later, 6:07 a.m., same screenshot, no edits, no reference. The handoff note from that morning still had him tagged. He hadn't replied, hadn't opened the file until the timestamp on his copied image. Jenna compiled the artifacts. She didn't editorialize. She just dropped everything in a quiet internal thread. Screenshot, chat links, edit trail, my doc history, and the timestamp that backed it all. No commentary, just receipts. Friday's huddle started silent. Nobody joked. Nobody filled the air. Marcus read through the doc Jenna posted, slowly, out loud. Then he looked at Dylan. "Step out for 10, please." Dylan didn't fight it. He stood, walked out, and shut the door. Marcus looked at the rest of the room. Thanks to Jenna for pulling the thread together, and thanks to the person who did the work. He didn't say my name. He didn't need to. Everyone knew. Dylan didn't come back into the room. The next Slack update showed he'd been rotated into vendor liaison. Lateral move. No announcement. Just gone from our lane. The rumors died fast. Quietly. Like no one wanted to be next in line. Later that day, Marcus stopped by my desk. Didn't sit. Just said, "We're doing an all-hands next week. I want you to walk through the refund aging view. 3 minutes. Just the high-level bits. Show where it lives." My mouth dried out instantly. Like, live? Live. You built it. Doesn't have to be fancy. Just clear. He walked away before I could object. That night I tried running through it out loud. Lucy was brushing her teeth when she saw me pacing around the living room with my laptop open and a face like I'd just been told I had to sing at a wedding. She came out with her toothbrush still in her mouth. "What are you doing?" "I have to talk in front of people." "About what?" "About lines going down." She rinsed, came back, and dragged her teddy bear onto the coffee table. "Okay, practice with me. Coach Dad. I'll be the audience." I laughed in spite of myself. It's not a fun talk. Still needs practice. Go. So I walked her and the bear through it. What the chart showed, what changed, what stayed the same, and how to check it without breaking anything. No buzzwords, no techie flourishes, just plain English. She clapped. So did the bear. The day of the all hands, my palms were sweat slick the second I walked into the room. I waited near the back until Marcus gave the nod. Then I stepped up with the mic and pulled up the sheet. "Hey, I'm Cole. This is the refund aging view," I started. "The green line tracks backlog. We wanted it lower. It's trending down." I clicked to the pivot. This shows where aging's happening. You can filter by source, owner, or client. The numbers refresh nightly. If something looks weird, ping me. I shut up after exactly 2 minutes and 57 seconds. People clapped like I'd done a solo at a wedding. A few nods. One high five from Jenna, which honestly rattled me more than the talk. I walked back to my seat without looking up. An hour later, Blair sent me a one-line message in Slack. Clear, honest, helpful. Thanks. No flair. Just 3 words that stuck harder than applause. I saved the message. Not because I needed praise, but because some days I still felt like a ghost. Like I was there, working, building, fixing, but half of me was still standing outside HR that morning with no way in. The message didn't fix that, but it helped. I printed it, folded it small, and tucked it behind Lucy's all clear sign on the fridge. A few weeks after Dylan got rotated and the kid policy went live, somebody decided to stir the pot. An anonymous post popped up on a throwaway forum, half industry gossip, half burnout venting. Title said, CEO protects her pet project, nepotism with a single dad. The body was worse. Watch who gets special access and who gets moved aside. Policy exceptions, cute daughter, more like branding. It got maybe 30 comments before legal's monitoring tools flagged it. Nothing in it was provable, but the tone was sour and the implications stuck. Blair didn't wait for it to grow legs. That Friday, she and Renee held an open Q&A in Dollar General Ops. Nothing staged, no script, just facts. First question, why was Cole hired? Renee answered. He passed the test task with traceable metrics and cleared a 30-day trial. His KPIs have been monitored weekly. He reports to Marcus. I approved the audit personally. Second, what happens if he tanks performance? Blair typed fast. Same as anyone else. We separate. There's no clause that protects performance misses. Someone asked about favoritism. Jenna replied with a screenshot of the access logs and role-based permissions. Same restrictions as other trial hires. Nothing elevated, no flags. To seal it, Blair posted a new statement, company-wide. No romance in reporting lines, confirmed and reiterated. All managers must recuse from performance decisions if involved personally. All direct reports must declare relationships. Simple, flat, no loopholes. Then she reposted the existing Kids Hour policy, updated the FAQ, and pinned the sign-in log instructions. It didn't feel defensive, just clean oxygen removal. Gossip doesn't live long without air. 3 months in, my metrics held. Refund cycle time was still down. QA errors were low. Handoff notes hit 100% for 11 weeks straight. I stayed in my lane, logged what I touched, and avoided anything that looked like gray space. Then Blair pinged me late one Thursday afternoon. Just one line. Do you have time for coffee tomorrow? Off-site? No work talk? I stared at the message longer than I should have. Then I wrote back, okay, on calendar, vendor tag, HRCC'd. We met on a breezy patio downtown, someplace with metal chairs that rattled on uneven bricks. Wind kept knocking napkins around. She wore sneakers and a zipped-up fleece. No makeup, no layers of authority. Just a tired person grabbing 30 minutes between storms. We talked about exercise routines we both lied to ourselves about. Running shoes we never used. Grocery lists written and forgotten. Lucy's obsession with Velcro dashboards. She told me her niece went through a metrics phase too. Used star stickers to track chores. It felt normal. That was the strange part. There wasn't a moment where it blurred into anything more. Just 2 people who'd both been worn out by systems they didn't build, catching their breath outside one. I put it on the calendar like any external vendor meeting. HR had the invite. We left it there. That same week, real pressure hit from above. One of our largest clients, Zenorth Systems, threatened to delay a rollout unless a rival pay specialist led the go-live instead of our team. Old connection, different politics. None of it mattered. The rollout date was already set. Ops couldn't afford a miss. Blair asked Marcus in front of two department leads. Who owns the night of coordination? He didn't hesitate. Cole will keep it calm and documented. That was it. My name on the line. I spent 4 straight evenings building the playbook. Plain text, no fluff. Page 1, who speaks and when. Page 2, checklist of what we verify. Page 3, fallback triggers, what we pause, who we call, and which Slack channel posts the alert. Each section had one goal: keep it cool when the wires start to cross. Go live night, rival pays guy showed up loud. Big energy, too many jokes, tried to hijack the runbook midstream. We can just jump to the newer switch method, he said, grinning at me like we were co-pilots. I asked, where's the test data for that path? He hesitated, blinked. We didn't capture it formally, but the staging version passed, and we've seen it. No logged evidence? I cut him off. Then we go with the vetted path. Logged, timed, repeatable. Marcus backed me without a word. We pushed forward on the conservative plan. Every move went in the live log, complete with timestamps and Slack IDs. We made the window. At 7:41 a.m. the next morning, the client's project lead sent a single sentence. Cleanest release we've had in a year. I printed it, folded it in half, slipped it into Lucy's art folder between the crayon dashboards and the retro cards she made with Ms. Alvarez. The last all hands of the quarter was quiet. No big announcements, no music, no snacks in the back like the product teams usually got. Just chairs in rows, people half watching their phones, and Marcus at the front with a tablet in one hand and a file folder in the other. Blair stood off to the side, arms crossed, scanning the room like she was watching traffic. She waited until the logistics slide wrapped, then stepped forward. Operations saw measurable lift this quarter. QA trend lines cleaner, handoffs are stable, and refunds are meeting cycle targets. Marcus, you've got the floor. He didn't step onto a box or raise his voice. Just read like he was confirming a shipment. Refund cycle time down 26% over 8 weeks. QA misses under 1.3%. Handoff compliance, 100% for 62 straight nights. Triage logic deployed on schedule. Client feedback confirmed. He tapped the file once, then looked at me. By the book, Whitaker clears team lead for ops and QA. The room clapped like they'd been waiting to be told it was okay to react. No loud cheers, just real steady hands hitting palms. Marcus walked over, handed me a sealed envelope. I opened it there. New title, new pay band, effective next payroll cycle. The number wasn't life-changing, but it made the rent math finally stop looking like a dare. Blair gave a small nod, then added, also, thank you to the parenting rituals that keep us human. She pointed at the printed Kids Hour sign hanging by the front exit like it had always been part of the wall. Renee, sitting 2 rows back, gave a one-line nod of her own. Sustained trend, low variance. That's the closest she gets to affection. Afterward, I didn't give a speech, just said, thanks, and stepped off the side like I was walking off a curb. The policy didn't change. Facilities still kept the sign-in log at reception. Escorts were still required, badges still blue-striped, and every Friday at 4 p.m., the crayons came out, and someone's kid sat quietly with cocoa and a dashboard made out of pipe cleaners. Lucy had started calling it Team Cocoa. Kendall printed out a little nameplate and stuck it on the break room table with Scotch tape. That Friday, Lucy helped set out the snack tray while I wrapped up backlog notes. She handed a juice box to a newer guy's daughter, then sat next to her and showed her how to Velcro tasks onto a paper checklist. When I said we were heading out, she grabbed her visitor badge and waved goodbye to Kendall like she worked there. Outside, the fall air was sharp, but not mean. We walked 3 blocks to the corner spot that still did real soft serve and got 2 small vanilla twists. Ms. Alvarez saw us from across the street and called out, "What's the occasion?" Lucy answered before I could. "Daddy's the boss of checklists now." I laughed, full laugh. Couldn't help it. Right there in the middle of the sidewalk like a kid. Later that night, After Lucy fell asleep in front of a cartoon rerun, I took the promotion letter and placed it in the shoebox where I kept the things that mattered. The client's thank you from Go Live. Lucy's first dashboard tab labeled Fixed, the blue striped badge from her first Cocoa Day. And now, this letter. No trophy, no title card on my desk, but it felt earned, and it fit in the box. Years later, anytime someone asked how it all started, I didn't tell some polished arc or motivational nonsense. I told it plain. It started with me dead on my feet, 19 hours deep, HR shrugging off my shift swap request, and my 6-year-old walking into a glass building I'd never set foot in, holding a pink folder I didn't pack. I didn't get in because someone felt sorry for me. I got in because my daughter watched me build checklists at the kitchen table and thought, this is how my dad fixes messes. She assumed grown-ups would care if she showed them. And Blair Monroe, whatever people want to say about her, did the only thing that made sense. She didn't throw me a lifeline. She separated roles, handed me to Marcus, and set a bar I could either clear or crash into. That was the deal. Every win I logged had a trail, file links, timestamps, tagged owners, tracked deltas. Every fix came with a note, a change log, and a reason someone could read without guessing. No noise, just facts. When I blew a metric, I named it, built a prevention plan, posted the update before anyone asked. Dylan tried to steal a credit, flat out took my chart, slapped his name on it, and pitched it as his. I didn't fight it with drama. Jenna pulled the logs. Timestamps landed, chair moved, no ceremony. That wasn't revenge. That was gravity. Heavy data tilts the floor. Renee didn't let up either. She questioned the basis for my hire, reran every quarter's numbers, and compared my trends against baseline. I passed the first review and the next one. No shortcuts, no cushions, just clean KPIs. The rumor mill sputtered a few times. Questions about Lucy, about the pink folder, about the timing. But Blair didn't cave to the whispers. She posted policies, clarified boundaries, repeated them out loud in meetings, and let performance speak louder than speculation. Eventually, Kids Hour stopped being a thing people whispered about. It was just a 30-minute window on a posted sign, a Friday ritual, no longer a loophole or a favor, just part of the wall. As for Blair and me, we didn't blur lines. At work, she was the CEO. I was just one report 3 layers down. Months later, when we finally sat for coffee, it was outside, midday, logged on the calendar with HR CC'd. No hand-holding, no signals, just 2 tired people who knew what it meant to be tired in silence for too long. Lucy? She grew into it, from a kid who colored dashboards into a tiny integrator with her own routine. She helped set up Team Coco every Friday, checked if I'd written my handoff note, once caught a missed update before I did. You forgot the handoff timestamp, she said one morning, handing me my phone before I'd even had coffee. Can't miss the red dot. She wasn't wrong. Friday Coco stayed sacred, no matter what role I had or what metric I carried. Even when the job came with a new title, more eyes, more pressure, nothing touched Cocoa Hour. If there's a lesson in all of this, it's simple. I wasn't rescued. I was measured. And when the measurements were clean, the title followed. We weren't a pity case. We weren't a headline or a token story to make a company feel better. We were just a small, tired unit, one adult, one kid, who showed up, kept receipts, and went home for ice cream. Would you fight that hard for your second chance, like Cole did, or give up when rules get tough? If this story spoke to you, leave a comment, like, or subscribe. It really helps the channel. Love you guys.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.